Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of Reddit F1 22 Driver Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day, fresh off of an epic Grand Prix in Zandvoort in the Netherlands there, where we picked up the win after running down Max Verstappen. Win number 3 of Season 2 in our career, and now we are headed to Monza. It's going to be a bit of a wet weekend here in Monza. Not sure if the rain's going to be all Grand Prix long or if it's only going to be for a portion of the Grand Prix. Obviously, we are going to find out the hard way. But I'm very excited for that. But, oh, we have an announcement.
We've got incoming news from McLaren this morning. Daniel Ricciardo is announcing that he will be retiring at the season's end. This comes as a bit of a shock, doesn't it, Martin?
100% it does. His best season in ages, and he decides to hang it up. I'd expect to see Piastri in that car next year.
You heard the news. Daniel Ricciardo, our teammate, retiring at the season's end. A bit of a shock retirement there. He's having the best season he has had since his Red Bull days, and that was, well, as we know, a long time ago. And now he says, all right, it's time for me to hang up the helmet and call it a career in Formula One. Now, I would not be surprised to see our team boss choose to bring in Oscar Piastri into the team here with McLaren, but we'll have to wait and see. That would be, in my opinion, the no-brainer pick, especially after what Piastri put up on the board in his debut in the Hungarian Grand Prix when Ricciardo was out with that race ban after the Austrian Grand Prix incident. So I'd be okay with it. I'm going to be returning very likely to McLaren next season. I don't really have any reason to leave right now, so I would expect to be a lineup of myself and Oscar Piastri next season here. Practice was okay, but we jumped through into qualifying. Now, one important thing for qualifying is to note that I actually replaced basically the whole engine for the brief kind of, period in between practice and qualifying, which means I will have to start at the back of the grid because I have a 40-place grid penalty. So qualifying is meaningless for this episode here, and that means that I really wasn't putting much of an effort into it. I was basically planning to just run a lap in Q1, see what happens, and then, just move on from there. I come through to cross the line, and we were actually P1 briefly, but it went last. I would drop outside of the top 16. Not surprising, because I didn't go very hard, and it was actually dead last, which honestly was a bit worse than I expected. But like I said, I definitely didn't give it all on that lap, so I wasn't really surprised to be out of Q1. So 40-place grid penalty, starting from the back of the grid. Well, let's head to the grid.
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today, here at the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. With the rain coming down here at the 3.6-mile Monza circuit, the low drag setups preferred by most teams could cause them some problems in today's Grand Prix. So watch out for cars struggling for grip around the Curva Michele Alboreto. That's the Parabolica to you and me, the last and most demanding of this track's 11 corners. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Magnussen, Sainz, Charles Leclerc and Mick Schumacher, Ricciardo, Russell, Hamilton and Pierre Gasly, Tsunoda, Stroll, Guan Yu Zhou and Norris, Latifi, Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Robert Schwartzman. Ocon, they've taken a grid penalty, and Golden Boy. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Well, it's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
You saw the starting grid. You see the rain falling, intermediate tires to start off this Grand Prix. And, well, not quite sure if it's going to rain all Grand Prix or not. You can see there it kind of shows it raining for the majority. So it's going to be tough to kind of predict if it's going to quit early, because sometimes it does when it shows that. But nonetheless, let's go.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway. These are wet conditions here today. Each driver will no doubt be mindful of the wet surface as they prepare to race around the track. So as all the cars take their positions on the grid, the teams will be hoping their strategies pay off for them in today's race. And the question I'm asking is which teams have got it right, which ones have got it horribly wrong?
Alright team, a bit of a wet day out here, but I think we can hopefully work our way through the field quickly. I'll give it all I got.
Careful into turn 1, could get a bit wild today.
You hear myself on the radio with Mark, and we are ready to go racing. Now this video is going out way later than I would have liked it to be, and I'll explain why in a few moments time once we get the start settled out here. Now, last car on the grid, we got an Alpine back here of Esteban Ocon with us, his teammate of Alonso, not far ahead either in 15th. It's 5 red lights. It's going to be a Red Bull front row as we're lights out and underway here on Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. Watch out for Haas today. They've got both Schumacher and Magnussen up towards the top 5. And then you as well have to pay attention to Charles Leclerc, who's going to be trying to run down Verstappen and continue this fight for the championship. Perez wide there into turn 1. There's Carlos Sainz, though, ahead of his Ferrari teammate of Leclerc, scrapping it out side by side, wheel to wheel, as they head down towards the sweeping right-hander. It goes to Sainz for second place. Now Perez drops down into third place. Max Verstappen in command already for this 27-lap event now. One problem for myself in this Grand Prix, I was expecting the rain to let up earlier than it tells us in the forecast that's approximate. So I'm actually running a dry setup still, and I'm very concerned about how that's going to work out. So we'll have to wait and see and just kind of play by what the strategy is telling us there. As you can see, our teammate of Ricciardo up inside the top 10 now, behind, I believe, a Mercedes right there. That might be George Russell there just in front of him now. I love this game on my new PC in the rain conditions. It looks so beautiful. It really stands out compared to my old PC onto the new one now. There you see Lewis Hamilton. Once again, the struggles continue for Lewis Hamilton. It's not been a season to remember. I feel like I talk about it every episode, every other episode at this point now, and I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about it because this is such an uncharacteristic season for Hamilton compared to his teammate Russell, who's been, still up there towards third in the standings there. I nearly run into the back of Schwartzman there, the rookie, but we are able to keep it off of him in P16. So I started P20, we got up to P16 at the end of lap 1. I felt like that was a pretty good success, and it wasn't long until I was getting the slipstream here, and I had the overtake button on and going for this move on Robert Schwartzman down towards turn 1 wheel to wheel. He has a bit of a lock up there, but he does a great job actually getting the left front to get back, calm down, and start to rotate once again. So it doesn't matter though. We move up into P15, running down Fernando Alonso now, and it's difficult to pass in any circuit in the rain if nobody's making mistakes. And Monza, a track that's a little bit easier to overtake in F122, even it became a bit of a challenge to overtake here for myself in the rain conditions. And you can see myself behind Alonso there. Is actually, look at this, a slip up from Perez, and that's going to allow Magnussen here on the straightaway down towards the final corner to be able to go for a move, and this would put him into a podium position. His teammate of Schumacher not far behind there in 5th place, and you got Leclerc in 6th, Russell, Ricciardo, Gasly, Norris, and Hamilton as Perez drifts in behind the Haas. So Magnussen now moves up into 3rd place, but it doesn't look like this fight is over yet. Perez has obviously a car that's better in a straight line, and he is going to prove that right here. Haas is still at the top of the board when it comes to the R&D, but they are not the quickest when it comes to the powertrain. So not surprising to see that Red Bull fight back here alongside. And out of the second corner, Perez is going to be able to retake the position. So Magnussen jumps back down to 4th, but I don't think that fight between those two drivers is quite over yet. Now you can see myself, I had run down Fernando, gotten right up to the back of his rear diffuser, just looking for the right opportunity now to be able to actually go for that overtake, but the battle continues. Here's Magnussen again, going for an overtake on Perez, who defends to the right side, which if you were trying to defend out of turn 2, you want to be on the right side, but you saw a lockup from Magnussen, but I think Perez also had a bit of a moment, but nonetheless, he stays ahead again. So it wasn't over though. Lap 6 this time. Magnussen, third time, maybe the charm. He's learned that you want to be on the right side of the circuit for turn 2 to be able to get the power down and get going, get accelerated, and ahead of the driver you're battling with, and he does just that. So Perez down to 4th again, this time on lap 7. Now Magnussen's teammate of Schumacher to the right side of Perez, who's falling down the order here. You got Leclerc side by side with Russell just behind as well, and well, there goes 2 Haas cars into 3rd and then 4th a lap later for Magnussen's teammate, and Leclerc stays ahead of Russell for the time being. A whole train of cars right there, and I was closing in on the back of this battle right here. Tsunoda, Alonso, I decided to catch Tsunoda off guard a little bit. He did not really expect that move. I didn't reckon he did, and well, we go up into now P14. So trying to run down Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, we would run down Stroll without much issue at all, and lap 10 now, he's going to go to the right side, and I knew I wanted to be on the right side, but he kind of already took it, so I decided I could have definitely sent it more up the right side than he did, but I felt like I was going to be able to complete the pass here if I just kind of compromised him on the corner exit, just like that right there, trying to leave him the space and hope he backs out, and we do, in fact, move up into P13, and now we try to run down this group of 12th place on forward here, but I was starting to question how this race was going to pan out with the weather. So the rain was not far from ending. Max Verstappen, lap 14, he's going to pit from the lead, so he's got a brand new set of intermediate compound tires. I myself have been struggling to work my way through traffic. We've been moving forward, so that's good, but I wasn't moving forward at the rate that I would have liked to move forward. We're only 1.4 seconds behind our teammate of Daniel Ricciardo, so that's pretty good. We come out in front of Max Verstappen. However, I'm here to get maximum points, and we're coming off of our 3rd win in our Formula 1 career, so I decided, you know what, we're going to take a risk, and I am going to basically stay out as long as I possibly can until the track gets dry, and if the track doesn't get dry, just stay out for the whole race. You're allowed to do that. That is legal here in Formula 1 if you're on a wet compound tire. You saw a yellow flag briefly. I don't know what happened, but this was the only view I could get of it. There was like Alpine slowing down, Verstappen slowing down. I'm not quite sure actually what happened there, but they got it sorted out. So we're now leading as everybody has pitted but for myself, and I do not plan on pitting unless the track gets dry, basically, at this point. I decided to kind of just commit to this strategy and see what exactly, you know, we could get out of it, because I think we can get a better result out of it by doing this. You can see now coming up on towards 10 laps to go, and Sainz and Verstappen had both run me down big time. Magnussen 8 seconds back. I think even if we go to the end of this race, Magnussen might even be able to run me down, but I didn't have much of a fight here for Sainz. A bit of a rough corner exit. Here goes Carlos Sainz, the Spaniard, going to the left-hand side. He's going to take the lead of the Grand Prix, and then, well, behind me it's Max Verstappen. We had to scrap with him in the last episode for the win, but don't forget the times that Max Verstappen has taken me out of a Grand Prix this season. I wasn't going to make it easy on Max. I've been waiting for an opportunity like this here now, and I was not going to make it easy for the Dutchman to try and pass us now. So here we are drag racing down this straightaway towards that final turn, and if this was Carlos Sainz, realizing the pace, I back out of this move and I let him have it, but it's Max Verstappen, and he has not raced us with a lot of respect this season, so I'm going to give him the exact same thing. Back, we're side by side down the front straightaway now, down towards turn 1. That Red Bull top line speed better than the McLaren. Here he goes, side by side down towards turn 1. He's going to lock up into the corner. He's going to hit us again for like the 17th time this year, I swear. This moment right here, I very much considered just taking him out. I said, I've had enough of this guy, but I decided not to do it. Why am I not even surprised, dude? He runs into me every single chance he gets, or just a McLaren in general.
Just focus, mate. It is what it is.
How many times is that now that Max has run into Owen this season?
That has to be, what, the 3rd time, I think. China, Miami were the big ones, of course. Max has to get on the move and just made a bit of a slip up there.
You hear myself and Mark on the radio. You also hear Brundle and Crofty kind of discussing that as well. I'm thinking, you know how we do this little through the grid, like every Grand Prix? Let me know down in the comments below if you're watching at this point. Should we have this segment of each episode turn into a crossover where we have Brundle and Crofty AI actually talking about the Grand Prix and how it's playing out from that broadcast perspective? Let me know down below if you would like to see that. Now you can see yellow flags here in Sector 1 in the background. That's Mick Schumacher, who's going to be out of the Grand Prix. A mechanical failure there for the German. He is done for the day after a great day it was here. You can see myself settling in 3rd place, but Magnussen had cut the gap to me in half. It was 8 seconds, now it's 4 seconds. Now the battle up front. You heard Brundle talk about how Max had to be on the move there and kind of made a bit of a slip up that resulted in that contact. Well, here he is now alongside Carlos Sainz. We know being on the left side is a disadvantage here, especially in the wet, and you can see right there that Max cannot complete the pass. But the fighting, it was not over between these two drivers. Here it goes once again, left side of Sainz. We've just seen this doesn't work, so I don't see how this is going to work again on the second attempt, and sure enough, it does not. Sainz is able to stay ahead once again here and now, but 100% that fight is not over. And look at this, Kevin Magnussen has run me down by the time we come through to lap 22. At this point, the rain had stopped quite a bit ago, but you can see that the track is not really drying, so I just committed at this point to staying out to the end. But here goes Magnussen. I got nothing for him there. He is going to absolutely fly past me there for third place, so it's not going to be a podium today. Thank goodness Schumacher had that DNF, because I think he would have run me down as well, but Leclerc is quite a ways back, 10 seconds back. Verstappen very close, already making a move at the start finish line. He should be clear this time before they even reach the first turn, unless Sainz can find something in the power unit, which he does. He's going to fight back, but now Verstappen in the preferred lane, it's basically impossible unless Verstappen has a slip up here for Sainz to fight back. And sure enough, Max Verstappen to the lead of the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza, trying to spoil the party for Ferrari. The fans not going to be enjoying that one. As we came through to start the final lap of the Grand Prix, we had dropped 6 seconds behind, and we had dropped 6 seconds to Leclerc. He was only 4 seconds back. You could see just how rough my pace was at this point in the Grand Prix with the older tires and you know, a straight line focus setup. Yellow flag actually to start the final lap. It was brief, but whoever it was got it sorted out pretty quickly. But it's going to be Max Verstappen extending his championship lead in Ferrari land. He wins in Monza over Carlos Sainz, Kevin Magnussen. We're going to exit the final turn for 4th place, which is still a win considering where we were earlier with the strategy decision that we made. So I'm not going to complain, to be completely honest. P4, I'm actually pretty happy with that, because I don't think we had pace for P4. It just worked out with the strategy. Great run for the day, and we actually get driver of the day. Let's head to the podium for the celebrations.
So, another fantastic victory for Red Bull today. Tell me, Ant, how do they manage to achieve this win?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
I forgot to mention, the reason you're going to notice by the time this video goes out, it's going to be like a whole week probably in between this video and my most recent one to this point, which was co-op career mode with Matt212. So basically, my internet has been out all week, and no one knows why, and the earliest that my service provider can get out here to fix it, the absolute earliest is Friday. So it went out on Monday. Friday's the earliest they can get out to fix it. So, and that's even if they do get it fixed and up and running on Friday. This is currently Wednesday when I'm recording and editing and commentating this. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. It's still a couple days out. But by the time this video goes out, you'll already know, or I will already know, of course, how it went. But there you see the finishing order. 4th place, 10th place, 2 McLarens in the points there, which is good to see Ricciardo in his final Italian Grand Prix, where he got his final win in real life in Formula 1 so far to date. Mick Schumacher, of course, at the bottom, the only retirement for this weekend. Let's take a look though at the standings. Of course, that's the big question. It's a 56-point gap. Russell Sainz basically out of it, and Leclerc is going to have to do what he did last season all over again, and that is make a heck of a final quarter of a season drive to run down Verstappen in the standings. You take a look briefly at the constructors before we wrap it up. We are in that battle with Mercedes. We're ahead by 20 points. Ferrari back by 40 over Red Bull. We're going to take off from Italy, head to Singapore, my favorite Grand Prix on the schedule. I'll see you guys then. Have a great day, everybody.